Welcome to 3 on the Ones and Twos with your hosts, Tom, Cassie, and James. Just 3 old friends talking about their favorite records. Think of it as the coolest book club for music nerds.
So then he looks at me and says, "Do you remember the zipper?" Who the hell is this guy?
I don't know, I just kind of came in.
Thank you everyone for checking in to episode 5 of 3 on the Ones and Twos. My name is Tom, this is Cassie, this beautiful man is James, and it's a very special episode because we are starting to grow and we want to do beautiful things with this show, and one of them is have special guests. And our very first special guest is definitely special because he's been with us since the beginning. Working cameras, production,
all kinds of things, media,
wonderful ideas. And his name is Matt Darrow, rock and roll fan, and also done a bunch of great work. Works with the people at Slorticue Festival, and our good friend Sid Howell presents. Matt, say hello to everyone.
How we doing, everybody? Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you, James. Thank you, Cassie. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
I'm going to pull this mask down. I'm going to pull this mask down and cheers you. Thank you, Louis Sandoval and PBR for having us. Much love. All right. So,
and Trackside. Thank you, Trackside.
Thank you, Colin Tuno and Mikey and Trackside Tavern. What we do with our special guests is we contact them and let them know in a few weeks you're going to be here. Please pick a record that's important to you, change your life. You used to like making out with your girlfriend too. I don't know. You tell me. This man brought a record.
Yes.
What'd you bring?
AC/DC Powerage.
Yes.
So,
we got it. And we got
Thank you so much. I've been listening to it on repeat all week.
And you didn't hesitate when you told us it was like it has to be this. Like,
yeah. No, he was very clear right away. He was like, "That's it."
What else could it be?
Yeah.
Well,
I got a copy here.
And actually, after studying this album like more, because obviously everybody our age has heard AC/DC. You haven't just heard of, you've heard them. You know, so, but I didn't really know this record inside and out. I'm like stoked that you picked it.
I am too. And the crazy thing is I think they recorded this in 1977. It came out in 78, and it already was at their fifth record. I mean,
it was their,
they started
I think it was their fourth.
72, 73.
It was their fourth international, but it was their fifth Australian, right?
A lot of people fail to count the original Aussie issue, which is the TNT record,
right?
Which is technically the first one, which makes this the actual 5th album. If we look at just U.S. releases, we're looking at just number 4 because a lot of people don't count TNT as the original actual album.
Right.
So that's a big thing.
In the U.S., it'd be High Voltage.
Yeah.
Then Dirty Deeds, Done Dirt Cheap, right? Let There Be Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Powerage.
Yes.
Then the live album, right?
Yes. If you want blood, you got it.
And then Highway to Hell. And then Bon Scott. Yeah. That's the end of Bon Scott. So you got 6 U.S. albums.
Freezes in a car,
no,
was it?
It's still 21 years later, but all right.
No one really knows.
Death by Misadventure.
I heard that it was actually, I think he was so drunk that he was left in, he got to his friend's house and they were drunk, so he left him in the car.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And then he came, he came out the next day and he was still, and he had aspirated, I think, because he was so drunk.
Well,
sad because it's like, what an amazing frontman.
And I mean, I'm a huge Bon Scott fan. I love rock and roll, and I'm an old man, and I love an old guy who got a young band to back him up and just brothers and absolutely kill it. You know, I mean, so they are what you would call like the great romantic rock and roll story, but also the great rock and roll tragedy. You know. And it's still impressive where there's 4 records or 5 to do that many between 73 and 78. You know, insanely good records. But that being said, our special guest, I can't wait to hear your points.
I want to hear why you picked it. Really,
For me, 100%. The biggest reason for picking this record is number one. It is by far and away the single most underrated album that AC/DC has ever put out. It's very, very much it strikes you to your core. It is the most eloquent and deep lyrics that Bon Scott has ever put out.
Yes.
One of my personal absolute favorite, and Jim Wright, if you're listening, this is, you and I are on the same page on here, is there's a song
Jim.
on track 2, Down Payment Blues.
Love that song.
I love that song. That's probably my favorite
There's
on the whole
the
album.
single best line in the whole record is, I know I ain't doing much. Doing nothing means a lot to me.
That's my favorite too. I was like, wow, that's like the slogan for my life. That's amazing.
It's got some braille. My arm here just went up on
And
that.
I can't afford to feed my cat on Social Security. I mean, no, it has a lot of really good. I got myself a Cadillac, but can't afford the gasoline.
Yep.
But yeah, the best is doing nothing means a lot to me.
Yeah.
What a good line.
What a great line.
I mean, it's so simple, but it's like
it's
really
also
brilliant.
it's also seems because it didn't do well in the States. You said like
No, it's
on the
around
charts.
like mid 140s, 130s as far as the Billboard 200 goes.
But the thing is it's also kind of the closest thing to them doing almost like a soul record. Like it's soulful. It's bluesy.
It's very blues and like very blues inspired.
Yeah.
Blues inspired rock, just solid rock. And honestly, I would say about that line, like I love that line so much because it's simple but brilliant, and that's kind of how I would sum up their band.
Yeah,
like they did one thing and they did it really well.
And you know the biggest
You're absolutely right about that.
The number one thing I will say about AC/DC is, you know, they get a lot of flack. Hey, it's the same 3 chords over and over and over again. But you know what? If you buy an AC/DC record, you know exactly what it is you're going to get.
Right.
You can know when you take that out, whether you listen to it digitally, whether you listen to it on vinyl or CD, you know exactly what it is you're going to get. There is no surprises. AC/DC is AC/DC.
And the other thing to that point is, it's easy for someone to insult that or just that, but you go try to do it. My friend Bill Kelleher plays in Mastodon, who's a wonderful artist, musician. You know, he said many times, he's like, there's only 2 bands that can do that. It's AC/DC and the Ramones, and somehow they were great at that. But good luck you trying to do it. No, you actually you actually can't.
And I actually read somewhere it's like great musicians could play the chords, but they're not going to bring the same power.
Right.
Which I actually have a theory about how they were able to do that. But
are you kidding? Yeah, you kidding me? Yeah, the attack. You mean like
Well,
Right,
there is a subtlety to what they do that I think most people don't recognize as a band. Because when everybody says, oh, they sound like AC/DC, it's like, no, they don't. Only AC/DC sounds like AC/DC.
Right. Yeah.
Because they know how to they fit all their band and all their sound and everything is like a puzzle, and they perfectly locked it in together. Yeah. And everything is very restrained. You think of AC/DC being this wild band, but they are very, very.
There's
everything they do is very much on purpose. I would say.
Yeah, well, that's one thing that I was noticing. I was thinking they have a lot of space. There's little silences, within it. They actually utilize those silences, just those quick little times when there's nothing, to almost amplify the sound. Because where it's placed and then how things kick in, it's really fascinating.
They had a plan. They knew what they were doing, how to attack and how to execute. Because I've heard old interviews with Angus saying, especially when you're doing festival circuits back in the day, Toots and the Maytals, who I love, might be on at 5 o'clock, and then maybe the Stones are on, whatever. And he's like, you have to believe in what you do. You have to execute. You have to kill it. He's like, I'm not scared to headline anytime. He goes, the Rolling Stones, who I love, could be great. If we go on after them, sorry, we're going to wipe the floor with the Rolling Stones.
I heard that Angus was like a workhorse.
Yeah.
That he had a work ethic on the level that nobody else could reach.
Right.
I was like, is that something that I think that's part of what drove it. Obviously it wouldn't be AC/DC without the Young brothers. Especially since their older brother produced it, right? This was the last one that.
When Cliff Williams, their current bass player, joined the band, one of the biggest things, and
it was this record, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, he joined during the Let There Be Rock tour, but his first official writing credit was on Powerage. But what a lot of people don't know is he just everybody didn't realize that when Angus, it is 100%, rest in peace Malcolm, of course, but AC/DC was 100% Angus and Malcolm's band.
Yes.
It was not anybody else's. That was 100% theirs. It is their band. And if you did not give 110%, if you did not live, breathe, and bleed AC/DC, you're not in that band anymore.
Right.
Because it is their band. If you don't have the work ethic, if you're not able to keep pace with what they do and what they're about,
And
you're
that's
not
one of
staying
the
in
reasons
band.
why they got rid of the bassist that they got before Cliff, right?
Correct.
And the thing is so no matter who is backing them, it's like Marky Smith used to say about the Fall. He goes, "It could be me and my mom playing bongos. It's going to be a Fall record."
Yeah, right.
You know?
I mean, that is true,
You know,
though.
so if, as long as these guys were there, the other three people with them, like it was going to be AC/DC.
This is 100% the original, the classic lineup. This is the formulation and cementation of the classic lineup for them. When you look at the back of this, record, you have Malcolm, you have Cliff, you have Angus,
This
you have
picture's
Phil
so
Rudd.
amazing,
And
and they look like scary
back it up.
and like they were to mischief. You
A little
know?
bit unhinged.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of things special about this though, because it was Cliff's first time. It still had Bon Scott, but wasn't this the last album that George Young, their older brother, and was it Henry Vanda,
yeah.
that they produced, right?
Yep, this was it. This was pretty much the kicking off point before Atlantic and all the other labels they've dealt with over the years pretty much picked them up. This was it. This was the last time they really kept it in-house.
Right.
And then AC/DC just went.
Well, I think Atlantic.
Right.
Highway to Hell, really.
Yeah.
I think Atlantic, but they were covered by Atlantic at this time though, because
Correct.
that's the whole reason why Rock and Roll Damnation's on the U.S. version, because I guess they already had the pressings ready to go for and James, this is like the UK pressing, right? The original UK.
Yeah,
So it doesn't have Rock and Roll Damnation because they already had the pressings ready
Right.
to go, but the Atlantic, like the US Atlantic execs said that there's no radio friendly.
Which is insane, because can we talk about that song? That's a perfect awesome song. What the hell is wrong with
I
you?
would 100% say like just like record companies like execs, like they ruin stuff, like you know, but that was actually or maybe their idea, it could have went either way, but like AC/DC brought it with that song.
Yeah, and listen,
so it's a great song to start with. I mean, yours doesn't start with.
I hate to say it because this show's about being positive, but most people who work in record companies and who are executives are the furthest from musicians.
I mean, they're just looking for money.
We're lucky if they're fans, you know.
But that was a really good. So your version doesn't have it because it was already on the pressing, and so they didn't have time to add it. I guess it came out as a UK, like a couple months later as like a single, and went like hit the charts immediately.
Yeah, so I got the UK version, the first pressing. I just bought it at like a half price books for $5.
Yeah, you were saying
like
Score?
way back
That's
when,
great.
and I was like, this is not a. I mean, at the time I was like, this is not a normal US, like just feel how flappy, flimsy the cover is and everything. And then it was like, wait a minute, the track listing is different. I mean, later on, like kind of.
But I also love
I don't
that.
have Rock and Roll Damnation.
I hate that.
See, I love it. You hate it.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize is there's a track on here that is, to me personally, is the absolute epitome of Bon Scott's vocal prowess, and that is "Cold Hearted Man."
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't heard that because I just had my copy.
Well, after the show, we're going to listen to it.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
"Cold Hearted Man" is it still gives me chills to this day.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, being 34 years old, this album really predates me a lot, but I absolutely love "Cold Hearted Man." Any of the backing tracks on the album. All of that, all of the rarities and stuff, and it's really, if you think about it, though, with your copy, it's not really a rarity; it's just a variation on the album.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's incredible. The album absolutely epitomizes blues.
Yes.
It just so much. It's so full of everything. It epitomizes them, epitomizes their influence, everything about it. It's just an amazing record. I absolutely love it.
I wanted to say though that the point I wanted to make is that this album specifically, and I'm glad you chose this album.
I'm so glad you chose it.
To me, this is like
you.
the most mature of the AC/DC albums because I feel like people put AC/DC in this kind of corner of being kind of juvenile, and they have these like, you know, especially at the Brian Johnson era. Like I feel like some of their stuff just got a little bit too campy and a little bit. I mean, it's a little bit juvenile, which is totally fine.
Rock and roll.
But this album, I feel like is like they're mature. It's like they're really like adult bluesy rock album where Bon Scott is talking about, you know, things. He's really stretching out, I think. And I think with Highway to Hell, it kind of went back more into a more mainstream way. But this is like their kind of like serious, most serious album. Right. It's like my favorite to listen to as an adult.
And I was going to say, the Brian Johnson stuff, listen, cheese, there's a place for cheese in rock and roll. You know, I mean, listen, and his story is an underdog, beautiful story too. I mean, like he worked with them and to be able to do that. But this is my favorite.
I think
this is my favorite.
I think for a lot of like AC/DC fans, like real hardcore AC/DC fans, this is their favorite. Like this, so this is your favorite, right, for AC/DC? Yeah, I think a lot of I mean, there's like so many accolades have been given to this album. Like I think it was like Rick Rubin or something. I don't know if he was just talking about AC/DC or if he was like specifically talking about this album, but like just said something about them being one of like the best rock bands or something like.
The thing about it is this album was actually recorded in about 3.5 weeks. So they came in the studio, they knocked it out, slammed it out, and a couple of very interesting things for some of you guys who kind of are the deeper fans on it. Is one very interesting thing is the album is called Powerage. It is the only record in the catalog that I know of that actually there is no title track. The word Powerage does not appear in any of the lyrics for the album. And also too, the interesting thing is about the logo, which we all know the standard glossy 5-character AC, lightning bolt, DC. This is the last album to use any variation on that. It was on Let There Be Rock by Gerard Huerta, who actually created that, but that was used, this was the last time any variation of that was used ever, all the way up until Power Up earlier this year. So that's where we are right now.
And every other record before this, they had a song that was named after the album.
Let
Correct.
There Be Rock. Yeah, of course.
Oh, like even not just like leaving off Rock and Roll Damnation, so this is like...
It starts with Give Me a Bullet.
So Down Payment Blues, okay, Give Me a Bullet.
But the order
is completely different. So it's like instead of Rock and Roll Damnations on like which is also, I don't know if this is like the original US, because this is a repressing. So
I think it takes the US track listing. I think it goes that direction.
Right.
Does it? Mine?
Yes, I think you have like what's considered like the standard.
What came out originally? Okay,
this is the original.
So the Rock and Roll Damnation, and then even if yours didn't, I would expect it to go into Down Payment Blues, but it doesn't. It goes into Give Me a Bullet. So they're like,
and Give Me a Bullet's also a great opening song.
It is. But Rock and Roll Damnation, I think it just like really sells it.
We love Damnation.
Which is I love Down Payment Blues. Mm-hmm. Like that's probably my favorite, and then Riff Raff. Riff Raff's in the same spot, but it's kind of like, so if this doesn't have, so this
you got
is
a
like
escape
this.
hatch right
Yeah, gotta be COVID safer.
I was gonna say,
I haven't seen Max with that before.
How you doing? I want to say I love PBR. I love the sound.
Thank you,
PBR, for sponsoring the show today. Thank you, Trackside Tavern. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, B. Kinch.
Thank you, Steve.
And I'm going to just say cheers to you guys.
Cheers.
This has been so much fun already.
What is your favorite song on the album? Let's just make sure we cover that.
Cheers.
I mean, we also have to do a letter.
Yes, we do.
And eat some pickles.
We got that's 7 minutes.
And maybe have a pickle.
It's such a.
Well, I think Down Payment Blues, like, it's just it's soulful. It's so.
It has great
to
lines.
Me is got to be. It's a tie. It's a tie between Down Payment Blues and Gone Shootin'. The opening riff for Gone Shootin'. It's a. To be honest with you, full disclosure, this is actually Gone Shootin'. The intro, first 30 seconds, is actually my alarm clock every morning when I wake up.
Too much information, dude. Too much data.
No,
that's
it's a great thing to know.
Now, obviously, I don't start my morning by Gone Shootin'. But
mine is I ain't no hollaback girl. I don't know. Don't worry about this.
Yeah, no, that's like that. I mean, mine is definitely Down Payment Blues or Riff Raff. I would mine. I like side 1 better than side 2, but I like them both.
I do too, but also I love a song called "Kicked in the Teeth." I love Rock and Roll Damnation because it's soulful. It's
soulful, like it really is. I mean, obviously, but it's such a great opening track.
We're fans of the devil. We're fans of damnation. We're fans of evil, but we're good people. But you know what I mean? Don't worry about it.
You know, and to be quite honest though, to be as number 3 is the actual opening lines of Kicked in the Teeth. This two-faced woman with two-faced lies.
Yeah.
It just hits right away.
It was definitely this album was definitely Bon Scott's best, like as far as lyrics go,
really. Whatever you want to call it.
I mean, really,
it is. Well, the thing is insane frontman. Like I said, what a rock and roll story /
amazing
tragedy.
Lyricist.
But the lyric,
for what they were doing,
that's the point. It's I'm a huge fan of One-Two Punches with words.
Yeah.
And the lines you're talking about,
and he brings them.
And down Blues.
And
there's nothing but it's sardonic, it's sarcastic in a funny way. It's self-deprecating, but also your crotch. An
interesting thing that I learned though is that they didn't so they're looking for another frontman, like a singer, vocalist, and so they got him, but they didn't know at the time that he could write.
And he's
very
a lot older.
Very clever.
A lot older than them.
Yeah, but I think that there's they took him on as a vocalist, not realizing that he also brought something else to the table. That he proved. Because some of his lines are really clever.
He proved that he
he
was worth a lot more than they thought in the beginning.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Bon Scott now. The original guy, Dave Evans, still around. The only real song that I got any commercial success out of Dave Evans was "Can I Sit Next to You, Girl?" Mm-hmm. And that was the big one for them. But I mean, Bon he just absolutely captured and epitomized. It's such a shame.
It's a shame.
Waste about him. I mean, who knows where they would be now?
Yeah.
Down the road with Bon still behind them. But I mean, Powerage I don't know. I identify a lot with that. It's the rock and roll damnation about basically kind of talking about how take a chance while you still have the choice. You have
Pickles.
You have all of that, and it just epitomizes that era with the rock and roll is evil.
Yes.
And just bringing that up.
Cheers to Bon Scott.
Yeah.
Cheers to the young brothers, the young family.
Celebrate Bon
Cheers
Scott.
to Australia. Cheers to our friend Kelly Hester and Death Pickles.
Absolutely.
We got some West End Motel New Wave Kid Pickles. Cheers to the Trackside Tavern.
This right here is to Kelly Hester. So
yes.
we're just gonna go ahead and just
shot a fucking.
We're gonna make this happen
juice.
right now.
Again, Bon Scott, thank you for leaving us that legacy. I think we're gonna try to. I think someone wrote a letter. Will you read it?
Yes, absolutely. We have a write-in letter from a Penelope.
Oh, Penelope. She just seems like a doll. So thanks a lot.
So Penelope wrote in, and she made a point to mention. She's like, now that basically now kind of the COVID is kind of wrapping up. She's like, I really want to thank you guys for kind of bringing this up, and that now that hopefully shows will start back up. Hopefully we don't have another surge in this, and shows are coming back. And she posed a question to everybody here, and I myself as a guest, I'll be glad to answer this. But what she asked was, when shows do come back, what are all of you looking forward to most?
Wow. James?
Yeah. Well, there was a show, so that also bands outside the United States. I don't know when they're going to be able to come back to the United States and tour again. That's what I'm really looking for. There was a show at Terminal West that got canceled by Sleaford Mods.
There were tons. Oh my God, I had tickets for that. I was so
we all
excited
had
to see
tickets, and who knows when they'll come back. So
yeah, they don't play here a lot.
No, they've never played Atlanta before. So my pick was Sleaford Mods at Terminal West.
Yeah, I saw them in Glasgow.
I have a feeling I know what Cassie's going to say, but
no, I'm actually not, because I'm not, because the band that I'd really like to see probably
wouldn't.
I really want to see the Jam live. They're still alive. Why are they not going to get back together and play?
If the members are still alive, then it's still a possibility.
It's still a possibility, but But as far as looking forward to things, I mean, I know I had I had tickets to Primavera Fest in Barcelona, and I'm really bummed that
I want to go to a house show where it's disgusting and hot and see a crust punk band, and that night I want to party with Interpol, Turbo Negro, maybe the Idols and the Stooges. But who knows? People have wet dreams. What do
Well,
you want to see?
For
What's your
me,
ideal
you
show?
know, I mean, a lot of you know that
It'd be fun.
I'm very much the original old school metal and stuff like that. I mean, there's a couple things coming out. Exodus is releasing Persona
Love
Non Grata
Exodus.
later this summer. Judas Priest, working on a studio album. Really hoping we can reschedule the tour there. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not mention the fact that I want to see the tour, the backing tour for Power Up for AC/DC.
for
Yes.
I want to see that. I want to see that stuff performed live.
They'll
This is
come
my
through.
first show I've ever
They'll make
seen
it.
in my life.
It was AC/DC.
I cannot
Wow.
wait. I want to see that. I need AC/DC back in my life. I
Thank
need
you
it.
so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Trackside Tavern.
Sounds good.
B. Kinch, Steve, Natalie, Brian, PBR,
PBR?
Kelly's Death Pickles.
Kelly's Death Pickles.
We'll see
which
you
are
guys.
by the best
They're
pickles
the best.
They are the
ever.
best.
Thank you.
Pickles.
And we'll see you guys on episode 6.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you.